The nominees for the 97th Academy Awards have finally been revealed. As we said before, host Bowen Yang and Rachel Sennott announced the nominees for all 24 categories live from the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences Samuel Goldwyn Theatre in Los Angeles. Now, in a historic achievement, Emilia Pérez has become the most nominated non-English language film in Oscars history, racking up an impressive 13 nominations. Both Wicked and The Brutalists have also made their mark, each securing 10 nominations. Also, in a groundbreaking moment, Carla Sofia from Emilia Pérez has become the first openly transgender person to be nominated for an Academy Award. This, of course, is a significant step forward for representation in the film industry. And finally, The Substance has made history as the 7th horror film to receive a Best Picture nomination at the Oscars, also highlighting the genre's growing recognition in mainstream cinema. Now let's take a look at the Best Actor nominees also. This year we have Adrian Brody for The Brutalist, Timothée Chalamet for A Complete Unknown, Colman Domingo for Sing Sing, Ralph Fiennes for Conclave, and Sebastian Stan for his portrayal of Donald Trump in The Apprentice. Let's not shy away from discussing the nominations of the Best Actress in a Leading Role also, which saw a fierce competition this year. We have Cynthia Erivo for her captivating performance in Wicked, Carla Sofia, who has made history with her role in Emilia Pérez, Mikey Madison for her compelling portrayal in Anora, Demi Moore, whose powerful performance in The Substance has garnered significant attention, and Fernanda Torres for her role in I Am Still Here. Now, the list of films contending for the prestigious Best Picture Award has also been unveiled. The standout contenders are Anora, The Brutalist, A Complete Unknown, Conclave, Dune Part 2, Emilia Pérez, I'm Still Here, Nickel Boys, The Substance, and Wicked. But ladies and gentlemen, let's address the elephant in the room and do not worry that there is going to be an Indian representation at the Oscars 2025, as Anuja, a very own film backed by Guneet Monga and Priyanka Chopra, has also secured a nomination in the Best Live Action Short Film category. And out of all the 180 films that had qualified for the Best Live Action Short Film category, only 5 films have made it to the race to grab the trophy, Anuja being one of it. And also Anuja is nominated alongside Alien, I'm Not a Robot, The Last Ranger, and A Man Who Would Not Remain Silent. Of course, now let's take this chat forward. Author and film historian Gautam Chintamani is joining us on the broadcast early this morning. Gautam, thank you so much for joining us here on News9. First up, a very direct question and something that has been bothering me and a lot of people in the Indian audience, the film lovers as we say. The role of FFI, Film Federation of India, this time around has done it again. The strike rate, as Ricky Cage and Hansal Mehta has highlighted, is certainly impeccable when it comes to choosing film for the Oscars.
Well, like any good story, and now that we're talking about Oscars, we're talking about stories, there are multiple sides to this. To say that, a government body will push or nominate a particular film as the official nominee from the country, and then that's going to open up the doors, is, to my mind, and dare I say, wishful thinking. So, of course, you can pick up the popular choice, which has already garnered some appreciation and acclaim in the foreign market. That obviously helps films. Like in the case of Lagan, the Lagan had a fantastic run, and the award at Locarno really laid out the red carpet for it as far as Hollywood foreign press went, and critics or members of the Academy went in the US. But let's not forget that Amir Khan really put his weight behind the film, did screenings there, and parked himself almost for 2 months in LA. So to say that, if a particular film would have been nominated or sent from India, chances would have been easy. I think that's wishful thinking. Even after there's a very tedious process for films to be shortlisted when it comes to the Academy Award nominations. And finally, picking up the fight. Like you just mentioned about Anuja, there were more than 180 films which were in the running. And what really happens is that people who understand that world and that domain know where exactly the sweet spot is when it comes to impressing members of the academy who will nominate that film. So to give you an idea briefly, for any category, for any film to make it to the final long list, every or a majority of the academy members need to have seen it, voted, and not just that, they would have to see all the films in the running. So imagine if Anuja cracked the nominee list, any and every member must have seen all those films and then rated. So to get the big membership list to come and sit and watch your film, 185 films running in the category where Anuja makes it. And now imagine the best film or the best foreign film. There'll be more than 100, films in the running. And it's not just limited to one country sending a particular nomination. I mean, in the case of uh, Indian films, we have seen that, in the past, films which have a very, very big role of India as a character or as a setting in the narrative were sent by UK and Canada as their official nominations. I mean, I think if I don't, if memory serves me correctly, then Asif Kapadia's Warrior was sent by UK. So there is a lot that goes into play. Of course, sending a film which already has garnered some kind of appreciation out there in the West always helps, but it just helps so much.
Absolutely. I agree with a lot of points that you have mentioned, Gautam. But let's face it, if we are speaking about Anuja and what a masterpiece it is, let's not forget to mention it here that the director and writer is also not someone who is from India, although the story is Indian. So that's also speaking a lot about the kind of filmmaking that we have been doing nowadays. And of course, the setback that came in for All We Imagine as Light, because there was a huge chatter about Lapata Ladies versus All We Imagine as Light. If we are speaking about the international recognition, if we are speaking about the precursors, let's face it, All We Imagine as Light has bagged a lot of nominations at international award, and some of them are still pending, and they have bagged a lot of awards as well. So don't you think that they were like the most apt choice for India to be sending to the Oscars?
In the manner of speaking, yes, and not just the praise that Payal's film has garnered in the West. It's also the fact that it won at the highest podium when it comes to cinema. I mean, it cracked Cannes in that sense. So yes, it would have made some difference, a considerable amount of difference. But let's not forget that by itself, Lapata Ladies was has also garnered a lot of praise, and perhaps the federation felt that it is a film which resonates more about an Indian story in that aspect. So I mean, if you look at Anuja, see, that is where the the smartness lies. And also I must I've been following films for almost 40 years now, or 35, very 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 closely. uh, I just want to express something, that an Oscar award is not akin to an Olympic gold. I mean, of course, yes, it makes a very big difference when it comes to
Oh,
cinema. Uh,
absolutely.
you enjoy the spotlight on you. But let's face it, the two of the biggest industries that have survived and thrived despite and in spite of Hollywood would largely be the Hong Kong cinemas of 80s and 90s, and the Indian film industry. So uh, Indian cinema is not going to change its narrative or its elements beyond a point. I mean, it's just not going to do that because it is very, very, very ingrained in its ethos. So to expect uh, an Indian film to crack the foreign market, and when it comes to market places like the Oscar or film festivals, would be very difficult. It's not because our films are lacking or our stories are not that great, or they don't resonate with the world. I mean, this is the same land from where a Satyajit Ray emerged, and his stories, dare I say, did not resonate with a large number of Indians, but they really resonated with the world in that aspect as far as popularity and acclaim goes. So to crack that market, you have to play on those terms. So if you look at Anuja has, like you just said, it does not have an Indian filmmaker attached to the name when it comes to direction. It's a story set in India. Also, it has very powerful producers. Guneet has already cracked that market. Priyanka is an icon there, so her name makes a very big difference. So if you have that kind of a marquee name, a lot of doors open for you. And I don't mean just in terms of finance or marketing, but also people just being interested in coming and watching your film. So a name like Amir Khan would have really opened a lot of doors there. And in that aspect, yes, Payal's name would have also opened a lot of doors. But it is what it is, you know. It's a completely different ball game. You can't. I mean, even if you look at the films which have garnered a lot of praise at the Oscars, 10 years later they don't seem to make sense. And one of those examples is that I'm going out on a limb here and saying that Slumdog Millionaire back in 2009 was the greatest thing since sliced bread, or you know, since the Lumiere brothers invented film. But today, it seems very strange as a choice to push and for a lot of people to celebrate the arrival of Indian cinema. Also, if I can just take a few a couple of minutes here.
Sure.
These awards are politically motivated, not from uh, just the side of the storytellers. Of course, there's only a certain kind of films which you know crack and win acclaim at these places. I mean, if you look at if you just jog back 30 years ago, Forrest Gump beat
Yeah.
Pulp Fiction left, right, and center. Shawshank Redemption today is considered to be one of the greatest scripts, if not the greatest ever written. But Pulp Fiction, which completely transformed cinema in the last 3 decades. And to my mind, if you take out Tarantino's influence on filmmakers, a lot of present day cinema would not exist. In a similar way, if you look at it in an Indian context, then Ram Gopal Verma's early films, such as Shiva and even a decade later, Satya, transformed filmmaking and inspired a lot of filmmakers today. I mean, if you take out Ramu from the contention, then a lot of filmmakers today don't might not exist the way we know them. Yet, if you look at the number of awards or you know popular culture nods that these two filmmakers or these two particular films, Shiva and Pulp Fiction, garnered, were limited as compared to the other films that released along with them. So, if you look at the nominees of this year, also, I mean, if you look at the one with the 13 awards, it speaks
Emilia Pérez,
more
yeah.
about a particular region than it speaks about the film. Perhaps, I mean, you know, I could be overthinking here, but the same thing happened with Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. That film winning the best foreign film makes sense, but the film garnering so many nominations in popular categories was a little surprising. But that happens because Ang Lee happens to be an American filmmaker, and the studio which was backing that film put its weight behind that film. So if you have a marketing budget or a global publicity budget which is akin to the production budget, then you see the difference. You see how Rajamouli's Triple R just was the toast of the circuit for a few months. It's not his greatest film, and it's not the best film since the invention of cinema. But look at how they pushed that film. So when it comes to nominations and Oscars, especially, then it's a completely different ball game. Who gets nominated and why do you get nominated, and how do you manage to crack that market?